What makes Nakamoto Yuta appealing? Well, lots of things. Yuta is straightforward and unfiltered. He has no problem establishing boundaries and standing up for himself and others. He exudes confident body language and doesn't mind interacting with his environment and taking up space, which could look domineering and scary to others, but it's just Yuta being comfortable in both himself and his surroundings. He actually doesn't want people to feel uncomfortable around him, so making eye contact and giving his undivided attention is his way of trying to give people the attention and respect they deserve, while trying to put them at ease, to show that he's there and listening. There isn't a vibe from Yuta that he wants to exude his dominance over others. He's just being himself, and is in fact a friendly, very funny, and kind person who does care about the feelings of others. And I think this level of confidence, of someone who is able to unabashedly be themselves, is appealing. He doesn't play down the confidence he exudes and the belief he has in himself or his own abilities. Yuta is earnest in everything he does. It's hard to be someone like that, and even harder to make fun of someone like that, so it can be intimidating. Yuta never plays down his skills and actually doesn't use a lot of negative self-talk. It's simply not in his vocabulary, which helps explain where his unrocked confidence comes from. It doesn't really matter if he's the best dancer or the best singer, because he's comfortable with himself and believes in his own skills, and that's admirable. I think that's a reason why he's close with Mark. Mark is someone who struggles a lot with self-negative talk and possibly imposter syndrome, but Yuta is someone who can deflect that negative self-talk from him. Additionally, Yuta is kind and attentive to Mark. See this small example where he immediately rushes to Mark's aid when he got hit in the head. But it shows this sort of affection and mother-hen-like quality Yuta gives to people younger than him. See his interactions with Shotaro as well. And I think it says a lot about Yuta's love language. He is the carer in a relationship, regardless of that intimidating exterior those who aren't familiar with him might experience. He's in touch with his feelings and isn't afraid to show and express them. And I think the affection he expresses is telling of the kind of person he is. And the fact that Mark reciprocates this friendship, I mean the amount of times Mark has called Yuta or texted him during lives, kind of shows you how much they communicate off camera. But I don't think Mark would be friends with Yuta if he wasn't a kind person. And going back to Yuta's belief in his own skills, Yuta could be bad or subpar at things, but nonetheless, he has an unshakable confidence in the things he does and attempts to do. Whether he's participating in Idol Olympics, singing, or drawing, there's no self-doubt. I mean, during his relay cam, he did a drawing for his video. What's important and what I want to highlight is, 1, Yuta attempted to draw, which isn't something he usually does, and 2, not once did he say his drawing skills sucked or that he was nervous to show us the end result. He was earnest all the way through and proudly showed off his work. To witness someone who is simply happy in themselves and their skills, someone who's not embarrassed or shy over what they attempt or what they do without being arrogant or destructive about it, is appealing and inspiring. Yuta's self-confidence means that he doesn't have a need to drag others down to make himself feel better. Unless he's making jokes at other members' expense, particularly Doyoung, he is very much happy and content staying in his own lane without making others see how great he is. Yuta also isn't afraid to voice his own opinions, even when he could get into trouble for it or face controversy. As long as he believes it is the right thing to say, he'll say it. For example, on Abnormal Summit, Yuta said Japan should continue to apologize for their imperialist history until the world forgives them. Regardless of our opinion on the matter, Yuta said he knew he'd get backlash for it, but believed what he was saying was the morally right thing to voice. And that takes courage, to stand up for what you think is right and face potential backlash from your peers. It illustrates his strong moral compass. Furthermore, Yuta's confidence can be seen in the way he presents himself. Yuta has no problem liking things or doing things that could be seen as more feminine. He's very comfortable in his sexuality and has no problem looking feminine or appearing androgynous. He simply is who he is and presents himself however he wants. That takes courage and simply adds to his appeal. And speaking of feminine, Yuta gives off strong feminist vibes. Yuta seems like the type who would defend women, not only by the way he talks about or treats women, but also the way he perceives himself. Not having a problem with engaging in feminine activities or being perceived as feminine simply adds to that feminist vibe. Furthermore, during an Abnormal Summit segment, the men discussed which country had the best looking women, and Yuta straight up asked if looks were the only thing they cared about in women. This helps delineate how he views females, and having the confidence to stand up and defend them, consequences be damned, adds to this point. Another example, albeit very small, but it has stuck in my mind since, is during the Work It group video, where the members were role-playing, and Henry asked the woman, played by Jaemin, her weight, and Yuta immediately says, "You don't ask a woman her weight." He said it almost reflexively, as if he didn't need much thought to say it, and it wasn't in a mocking or joking tone either. He was being serious. It shows this attitude Yuta has ingrained towards women. He will come to their defense. Additionally, in this clip here, when a fan got to hang out with NCT, she was asked who her favorite member was. The others tried to impress her and smile, etc., but Yuta simply remained being Yuta. He didn't alter his behavior to appeal to her, but remained respectful and friendly. The girl said Yuta was her favorite, and he didn't immediately make a scene about it. He didn't even touch her, and gave her her space, and he didn't mock the others or gloat. Yuta was simply happy to be chosen, and, interestingly, he wasn't shocked or surprised that he'd been chosen either, i.e., the possibility of being chosen as a favorite wasn't out of the question for him, so he wasn't surprised, but instead was satisfied, polite, and content with her choice. During a Resonance livestream, a fan comment was read out where, due to Yuta's interactions with Wavy, particularly this instance with Xiaojun, fans said that Wavy was scared of Yuta. Of course, SM have tried to correct that with this amazing and awkward episode dedicated to both Xiaojun and Yuta later, but the point here is that although Yuta seems unfazed and quietly confident most of the time, this comment really shook him. It clearly affected him, because there is at least one thing that Yuta is insecure about, and that's being seen as a bully. It's quite hard to see his face drop and to see him sad. The idea that fans could think that Wavy was scared of him, and to think that Wavy were intimidated by him, really bothered Yuta. Now, if Yuta was arrogant and toxic, he may have enjoyed knowing that people were scared of him, and he could gloat over how intimidating he is. But instead, Yuta seemed sad to hear it, and was sad to think that he was being perceived that way. And that delineates his soft and empathic nature. Nothing seems to bother him, but being seen as a mean person does. He didn't hide that he was upset either, and it kind of shows how he wears his heart on his sleeve to a certain extent. Furthermore, Yuta is open-minded. Also on Abnormal Summit, he was very interested when discussing trans issues and discussing political topics openly. And I think this open-mindedness does come from the fact that he's practically grown up in another country. He's had to grow up with his own culture and way of thinking, and then grow up in another country with its own culture. And Yuta has assimilated himself very well into Korean life, respecting and accepting it while remembering his own roots. And I think that that helps explain his open-mindedness. And in addition to this, the fact that Yuta can speak multiple languages is extremely appealing. This bit in the 127 Tokyo concert behind-the-scenes footage, Yuta, without being told to, slides right in to help Jaehyun and a Japanese stage director who couldn't quite communicate with each other. So Yuta patiently and quietly listens to what Jaehyun is trying to ask the director in English. Yuta then immediately translates Jaehyun's English into Japanese to speak to the director, who then responds in Japanese, and Yuta instantly translates it into Korean to tell Jaehyun. It was such an impressive feat, and I think it's one of Yuta's most attractive moments. That confident and calm energy to be able to move across languages in a humble, non-bragging way is appealing. It shows his willingness to help others when he can, and he doesn't hold it over their heads or make it a big deal that he can actually do something that they can't. And that is appealing. So yes, those are my thoughts on what makes Yuta appealing. But what do you think?